I'm clearly too distracted by I don't even know this guy in this room because I rolled a 5. Why am I playing this game?
I rolled a 17.
You know, I thought Lena and Tessian went down here, but it turns out Lena and Karash did. Got him.
I'll leave.
Yeah, Lena. The kids look relatively unharmed. I mean, you don't have a basis for what they looked like before they came down here, but just looking them over as they are now, they seem fine. A little weirded out, a little off-put by what you assume was just kind of being escorted down here real quick. But they look to be in perfect health, just whisked down here for whatever purpose.
Tessie does want to go to the students, and whatever I guess the first group was. I mean, I don't want to say he like looks for the leader in them because they're kids, but he'll be like, "Oh, you were all right. What happened?" He's trying to get. He wants their story.
Okay.
Basically.
There's a younger boy and girl, both human, towards the front of the group. So maybe towards the 11 side of what you were told. And the girl's like, "Well, we were walking around a tour of the city and everything was great, following our teacher, and all of a sudden a whole group of these folks with this garb on told us to head down these stairs or else." Seemed kind of threatening. They had daggers drawn, and so we decided it was probably a good idea to follow them, and here we are now. Just they kept us down here for the last couple hours or so. Don't really know how long it's been, but basically just been in a room, kind of talking to the others, trying to keep people's spirits up, and that's about all there was to it.
And Tessian raises an eyebrow at the word group, and he's just like, "About how many of them would you say?"
Oh, 6 or 7 maybe.
He looks to the other kids to see if that's an accurate number, or if this kid is just does not account.
I saw 6,000 ninjas. No, you didn't.
Well, I mean, one of them there might be like 6 of them, and one will be like, it was only 4. Like sometimes it gets crazy. So he's.
Yeah, the general idea from looking over the group is they're all kind of nodding, and a couple kind of filling little bits of information here and there. Like it was essentially they popped out from the sides of the streets, so they were sort of surrounding the group, and they quickly just told them, "Come this way." And so in the matter of seconds, they were able to herd all 30 of them down into this staircase. And the teacher, who probably had a shot at least hearing some of this, still apparently didn't notice, so she may have been lost in thought or something. Maybe not quite paying as much attention as she might have liked to think she was. But still, I mean, who would expect something like this?
Or she was in on it. But that's not our problem.
That could be true, too.
Tessie will turn to Oliver and sort of... I don't know. He's kind of putting on his more serious face. His I'm not here to fuck around anymore face. And he'll kind of look at Oliver and just be like, "Well, these children are going to tell their story to the authorities. So if I were you, I would be more concerned with more than this one woman. Looks like you've got a group of them." And he will eyeball the group sitting down, even though they seem to not know anything. He will make the implication. So, and even sort of glare at Oliver as though he is not above suspicion, just to like nail the point that he will not be above suspicion when the school gets word of this.
Okay. You don't get much of a reaction from the rest of the group, and make an insight check.
And this is when Tessian and Lena are murdered.
Yeah. Oh, you challenge me, eh?
No loose ends.
And all the kids are also murdered.
A gruesome display. 17.
We didn't think they would tell their story until Tessian said they would. Now they have to die. Looking over the others in the group, it doesn't seem like you get much of a response, to the point where it does seem like at least this band that's in this room doesn't have a whole lot of connection to it. And even as you're saying that, this female that Oliver's been addressing kind of chimes in. She's like, "Look," because she can see. So as you're looking at Oliver sternly, he's looking at you, but he's also looking back and forth to her, and he looks more stern than you do. And under that pressure, she kind of looks at him, and she says, "Look, it was a few of the other boys, some of the lower grunts I got to help me with this. It was just a job, okay? It was meant to be a prank. We were going to keep him for a day, and then, okay, the thing just popped up on my screen. Viewers can't see it. Don't worry about it. I got it out of there." Everybody else could see it. Viewers can't.
Yeah.
I thought I heard the USB plugging in noise. The viewers might have heard that too.
I heard that too. It was weird.
I don't know if you kicked a thing or I don't know. Whatever. Anyways,
I don't kick anything.
good news, guys. The hard drive's plugged back in. He's looking sternly at her. She's kind of starting to explain. It was just a prank. It was a quick job. It was gonna be easy. We weren't gonna harm him. We weren't gonna do anything to him. We were just gonna keep him for a day, feed him a bit. Give him a place to lay down, and then return him tomorrow. And the client said that was going to be enough to kind of sow some seeds of distrust. That was all I was told. And Oliver kind of looks at her, looks back over at you, Tessian. And the only thing he says at first is a heavy sigh. Like a full exhale worth of sigh. And he says, I thought during the initiation we were abundantly clear. There's another guild that deals with people that we're not even entirely sure how they got a fish we recognize to begin with because they're skirting such a fine line. It's why we don't play games with people. Even if it is supposed to be harmless, that's against the Requisition Guild's rules. And she's like, well, I know, but it was just something so quick. It was going to be so harmless. And he like puts his hand over her mouth at this point. And he looks down at her and he says, I don't want your excuses. We will deal with this later. And that's all he says to her. He turns back and looks at you, Tessie, and he says, well, there may be some fallout from this, but that's my burden to bear. If you would, I would love it if you could take these children back with you, get them out of this place, and put them back where they belong, and I will deal with things here.
And Tessian extends a hand and nods and is like, it's been an honor.
It has been something, and my apologies for doubting you in the first place. I just didn't think anyone would be so stupid as to pull something like this, so that'll be on us, and I'm sure we'll have to answer to the council for this as well. But, it's not undeserved, so we'll cross that bridge when we get to it. And he returns the handshake.
And Tessian responds with, well, I will be sure to mention how honorable you handled yourself in this.
Okay. So you guys going to just herd the cattle and...
I'm also going to lay down and see if any of the kids want to get up on my back so we can get them out faster.
Tessian assures the children that she is quite safe to ride and will not eat them.
And there are a couple of them that are instantly like, nah, no. And there are also a couple of them that immediately like light up at the prospect.
Yay.
And they kind of come over to you, Lena, and they tentatively start extending a hand to like touch your back.
Mm-hmm.
And then
I'm wagging my tail, by the way, to let them know I'm like totally happy and fine. Not scary at all. They're
still really cautious about it. And one of them finally like lays his hand on your back and then quickly pulls it back. You don't even respond. You're like, whatever.
I lay down if I'm not laying down already.
Okay.
I'm doing the thing.
So since his bold endeavor didn't have any huge blowback right away, eventually the two of them gather up the courage to hop on your back. They're small, so we can fit two.
Cool.
Smaller at the very least.
Get them out faster.
Sure. 2 of the 30 will make it out in plenty of time. All right, you guys retrace your steps. It's easy to do since Tessie and marked each of the junctures. It turns out there were 3, so... having 3 worked out perfectly. Not really intended, but there it is.
And Tessian will try to make small talk with them. Basically try to just get rid of any tension that they may have had. Like, if they're, I don't know, talking about, like, oh, this all happened and stuff, he'll be like, well, everything's fine, everything's good. He'll even try to ask, like, have you enjoyed your time at this school? He'll be like, I visited here often myself every now and then. He'll ask if, like, they still sell, I don't know, churros in the courtyard or whatever. Like small talk for people that probably would have been there before, just to try to like get their minds off of everything.
And the general response you get is people do like the school quite a bit. They like their studies. You get the sense that some of them are magically attuned, some of them aren't. This may have been just some kind of like general class or whatever that was more about like standard education and not specifically working on magic. They don't seem terribly put off by what happened. There was they talk about how there was a little bit of a scary moment at first just because there were weapons and they weren't really sure what was going on, but that ever since they were brought down here, they really just were kept in a room and they weren't threatened or anything like that. It was just, stay in here until we tell you. So they're a little off put by the whole thing, but really not so much that they need to be like reassured. So like a group of them make casual conversation with you pretty easily as you make your way back out of the tunnels.
Okay.
As you guys get to that final hallway, you see two figures approaching. One of which is the teacher. God, her name was Asner.
Lava Shield.
Lava Shield.
Lava
Yeah.
Shield.
Yep.
Ed Asner.
Ed
Yep.
Asner, back from the dead. And the other is someone you recognize, Tessian. It is... Oh, God. No, I'm in the wrong spot. Hold on. Where did he go? Shit.
Is it Corbin?
It is... Well, you have his description of. I don't know where the hell it went. You describe him.
I believe it was a brass dragonborn
Uh-huh.
with
Had the little glasses on his snout.
almost comically small pair of glasses on the end of his snout.
Yeah.
That seems improbably positioned there. And that's all I got. He probably is dressed pretty utilitarian. Making that up. That's not me.
He has on like these purple vestments. He looks sort of like what teachers dress up in for graduation. If that helps. Like college graduation. I don't know if high schools do that. I guess ours did, but ours was a rich-ass school, so it doesn't surprise me. As Mike shrugs. We went to the same school. Yay. This is indeed Professor Corbin. You recognize him from your previous visits here. And he kind of like waves to you as you approach down the hallway. He says, if it isn't young Tessian.
And Tessian's like, wow, Professor Corbin, it's been a while. And he'll go up and shake his hand just to be cordial.
He returns the handshake. He kind of shoots a short glance over at this wolf that has children riding on top of it.
and
As does Asner. She's like, you can see her. She's like thinking about asking. She's sort of pointing at them, and she has her mouth open as though she's about to ask.
And Tessian kind of looks back to Lena, and it's just like, Lena, if you could change back. And he kind of like motions to the children. He's like, you'll need to get off now for a moment.
Yeah, so I lay down, let them get off me.
I like the idea of you not wading into it and they just like poof, on top of your back. But
And then I transform back, and then I walk over and introduce myself properly.
the kids are slightly disappointed about having to get off, but they do. Like they don't like hesitate or anything.
I'll also like pat their heads as I'm walking by. Just, I don't know.
And you can hear a
Nice.
bunch of like murmuring among the students as you transform back, and you get the basic gist is like, that was a girl the whole time. She could turn into animals. Can you turn into animals? And most of them are like, no, I can't turn into. And one of them's like, I can turn into animals, but nothing that big yet. And it's a whole thing. Like there's a whole bunch of chitter chatter because of it, because it's a whole thing. And there's that recognition from Asner. She's like, of course, that's the other person that was with. I see. Okay, it makes sense now, right? Professor Corbin's like, a shapeshifter. Interesting companion you have here, Tessian.
And Tessian's like, I only keep the best company, of course.
Well, your reputation speaks for itself, I suppose, so there's some merit to that, yes. So you found the children, then. What were they up to?
And Tessian's like, well, it would appear that there were certain rogue elements within the Requisitions Guild that saw to pulling, as they claimed, a prank. And he actually kind of looks to the teacher, just to maybe if there's any kind of response from her. And he's like, although they didn't say why, and they were, well, rather unhappy about what happened as well, and returned the children to us post-haste.
Make an insight check. And Lena, you can as well.
Sweet.
Fucking 4. 4.
Jason, I'm
Kill
trying to
me.
give you every opportunity.
I don't even know why I'm here.
Well, you were a voice for the voiceless.
18.
I guess. I'm just like your friggin' puppeteer person. Like, I'm not doing anything.
La, 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 la.
Might as well just... I'm the puppet. You give me a voice. Just make all the roles.
I could just play your character if you want. We could just, sidestep the whole thing.
Yeah.
Tessian don't really get much of a response from her. Lena, you kind of watch her because you sort of understand what Tessian's going for here. And she doesn't really seem to, like, blink or flinch at this, not accusation, but just this idea that perhaps there was something more untoward happening. She just seems genuinely relieved that the kids are all fine, probably mostly because she wants the kids to be fine, but also because it's probably a load off for her because they disappeared on her watch. But you don't really sense any, like, evil intent behind her reaction to that statement he makes. And Professor Corbin eventually chimes in and he says, well, it's a weird group, the Requisitions Guild. Most of the time they're just off for getting things that are difficult to come by. Not even necessarily stealing, but far off exotic treasures, and sometimes it's stealing too, sure, but this is a bit unusual for them. I would not expect them to do something like this, which must be why that person you spoke to was so upset, because if they were allowed to take people, they wouldn't be a sanctioned guild in the city.
Yes, and if I may add to that, the woman who was seemingly responsible for this mentioned not only it was a prank, but that their client wanted to sow seeds of distrust. That might be some information worth having for your investigation.
And he kind of seems to consider this. He, with an outstretched, like, finger claw, pushes up those little glasses on the bridge of his nose a little bit, of his snout. And he says, interesting. Well, we'll have to file a formal report with the council, and perhaps we can question them or her further. They're always very reluctant to give up their clients because that confidentiality is part of the arrangement of what they do in the first place, but in a spot like this, they may have no choice but to, because the council will not stand for something like this, even if it was resolved well. So, I thank you for the information, and I thank you for going to the trouble of finding them.
Yes, of course. It was our pleasure to help.
And Tessian will add, it's like, and of course we were actually looking for some assistance when we originally arrived here in Lycidian, and we'd love to discuss some of our own plans with maybe some of the teachers. We could use some information, actually, on a rather rare subject.
There it is.
Lena.
I know. Lena, you're not in your wolf form anymore. Cut it out. Jesus. You see kind of a nod from Professor Corbin. He goes, yes, I had heard about that, actually. I believe they were making arrangements for you to meet someone tomorrow when you go and pick up your business with the Archaeology Guild, Stratum, right? Yes? I heard you had made an arrangement with them as well, and you were looking for more information about the Conatus. We do have a professor who's made it sort of like a side interest of his to find out more about it as well, although he's a strange one, I'll warn you, but it would take someone strange to be interested in such a subject that's so hard to get information about. But I think the hope was that he would meet you there when you were finalizing your contract, if that works.
And
Yes.
then Tessia nods. She's like, yes, we hadn't heard. That works quite well for us. Thank you.
Yes, his name is Inahani Carcassus Kihani Yoxus, and I just want to warn you in advance, he's a strange one. Not a hard to get along with fellow. He just rambles quite a bit, and I wish you the best of luck in getting a solid answer out of him. You may get some information that's useful, and you may get a whole lot of information that isn't.
And Tessian's like, well, at this point, any information is probably a bit better than what we've got.
All right, well, I hope it's fruitful for you. And it truly is good to see you again. I'm glad to see you in good health. I don't believe I've met your companion.
Yes, my name is Lena, and I go to shake his hand.
He returns the handshake as well. Your hand kind of gets lost in his, his hands are bigger than yours by a pretty substantial chunk. And this is a pretty tall Dragonborn, too. Like, he's got the different colored scales than what you're used to with Karash. And more prominent, like, actual scales as well. He looks more armored, per se. He's also, like, 7.5 feet tall. Not quite as big as Gothak, but he's a big man. So your hands, like, he clasps your hand with both of his in this handshake, and they just kind of like engulf your smaller, daintier hand. But has a nice smile on his face as he does so. Again, seems very cordial. And he says, well, I don't know why you're in town, but I really appreciate your help. If you have a chance to stop by and catch up a bit, or maybe have a drink or two, Tessian, I would love to see you at the academy. And
Tessian nods, and he kind of turns to Lena to kind of clarify who Professor Corbin is. And he's just like, Professor Corbin was Thea's teacher here in Lycidian for a while. I met him on a number of occasions when I visited.
Oh, and then I look, and then I realize it makes sense, and with what I know about Thea and all that. So, recognition.
And upon hearing that name, he kind of chimes in. He's like, so how is Thea anyways? I haven't really seen her since she graduated.
And I believe she's quite fine. I saw her a few months ago, but I've been traveling with Lena here on something of a different matter on behalf of my family. So it's been a little while since I've seen her.
Oh, family business then. And you can tell he's at least familiar with the idea of both you and Thea's backgrounds to the point where that kind of registers with him. He goes, well, I'm sure that diplomacy must be all sorts of fun then.
And Tessian raises an eyebrow and kind of gives Lena a look, and it's like, it has certainly been entertaining. Quite different than what I'm used to, I'll admit.
I kind of, like, put my head down a little bit, but I'd smile again, and yeah.
Well, these are trying times for diplomacy, so any deals that you can swing or relationships you can forge, I encourage. It's hard to come by good people in the world nowadays. It's very different than when I traveled around, but still, I have high hopes that as a society we will continue to improve as best we can.
That seems like it is a noble goal, of course.
Well, I hope that meeting tomorrow works out. If for some reason you need something else, please don't hesitate to hit me up. I cannot help you with the particulars of this journey you're undertaking, but I at least know some other connections, and if he's not helpful to you, maybe I can point you in some other direction. But I think you have the best two sources in town at your disposal. If anybody's going to know anything, it'll be these two particular individuals.
Of course. But look at us talking in this tunnel. Let's get these students out of here.
And there is a certain element of, like, the kids were fine overall because they've been saved and blah, blah, blah. They're appreciative, but they have been kind of, like, getting a little antsy and behind you guys are having this conversation. So that news is well received. And the two of them start escorting the kids back, if you guys are good with that being the conclusion.
Mm-hmm.
I am. Yep.
Sounds good.
All right. You guys are going to head back to the inn then?
Probably should.
Probably. I don't know how long we've been down here, but I think we got what we came for. So I suppose we'll head back.
It's essentially approaching evening time now, between everything else that happened earlier in the day, plus maybe like an hour going to and from, and then the conversation and whatnot. So,
yeah, I would say so. Then we plan to meet up at night. So,
yeah. As you're leaving, you can both make a perception check.
Oh God, watch me crit this one.
25.
No, I got an 8.
Amazing.
Amazing.
Tessin, you kind of find yourself lost in memories and like past relationships. Just thinking about these connections.
Mess.
Yeah. A hot mess. Lena, as you guys are heading back out of the secret passageway and then starting to make your way back to the west to get back to the inn, you do hear what sounds like a commotion back at the amphitheater. And the thing that you can pick up, because there's actually somebody basically announcing this to the crowds that are gathered both outside and in that foyer where you first saw the teacher, is that there appears to be some kind of sanctioned duel set up for tomorrow. And there's a bunch of people that are like there's hundreds of people in this crowd that are surrounding this person who stepped up on some kind of platform to make this announcement that there's actually a sanctioned duel set for tomorrow. And that it's a rare opportunity indeed. But that these are the type of things that are settled at this Coliseum, at the Yarn Amphitheater. So if you're interested, come tomorrow for a special event. And it starts rattling off all these details like additional admission fee, and like there's an upcharge for it because it's a big deal. Sounds like a whole show.
I'm gonna tug on Tessian's sleeve and say, "Oh, I wonder if that's the shard."
And of course, Tessian has no idea what you're talking about until he turns and listens to this guy. And Tessian's like, well, let's find out. So we take like a 2-minute detour to go figure out if it is indeed the shard.
As you guys approach there, this gentleman stops kind of like barking out all these announcements and whatnot. And for the sake of time, you can pretty quickly glean that you're not 100% sure, but one of the people involved in this does certainly seem to fit the description. It's hard to miss because they talk about him having a chunk of something in his chest, so it narrows it down pretty considerably.
No guarantees.
Yeah. But also similar, the hair and the piercing red eyes and stuff, where it's yeah, that's probably him. Yeah.
What time was this duel at?
Noon tomorrow.
Oh boy.
I mean, I think we could make that, right? We had our meeting in the morning.
That?
I think
we could put that on the day planner. Just scribble that on there.
Yeah, I think so. How much for tickets?
They're going to be at least $1 a piece. Maybe there'll be some kind of group rate if you guys come with a bigger group, but it's an upcharge. It's usually cheaper to watch some of these more regular combatants in the arena, but for a duel to the death,
I think Tessian will put down 5 of our party gold so that we can watch the shard duel potentially.
Okay. Karash mourns the lost money.
Yeah, that's it. The lost money.
You guys get 5 tickets.
Yep. I don't know if we'll use them, but we have 5 tickets now to watch someone we like potentially die. So let's do that.
Okay. Now you head back to the to Publica.
Yes.
All right. The other group, having finished up your business, scouting the area and whatnot, you guys make your way back to Publica. And when you get there, I don't know if you want to head up to the room, but if you do, it's locked. Knock on the door, no answer.
Yeah, I suppose we would have done that to see if they were back yet. Well, it looks like we're here first. What time is it?
At this point, it's dinner time. 5:36.
We have a few hours until our rendezvous. How do you think we should kill the time?
I'm not sure. Oh, here comes the cat. I'm sorry. Okay.
Bye.
Feeling, get your ass out of my way. Go on. Sorry. I mean, this is really a huge city. I mean, we could explore, or we could just sit tight and not make any waves and just stay here.
I mean, the thing is, I'd love to go to the store and get. I'm trying to build that new gun and the library. That's all boring. I don't want to go through that. But is there a way to say that's what we do, and then we can go over that in details later?
We can, yeah.
I mean, unless Karash and Grail, you guys are dying to go through the shopping. Shopping.
No, I mean, I do love shopping, but yeah, I think for expediency's sake, we could just do that off air.
Okay. So you guys go shopping, get food, head to the library.
Christ sits quietly in the corner of the library, wondering what the hell he's doing there.
We can go over a lesson. We can use this as an opportunity to go over a lesson.
There you go.
Do I need to make an intelligence roll?
I forgot what we were doing for this.
Trying to teach me to read?
Right. How were we doing? Were you making intelligence rolls in the past?
We have a couple of times we tried this, yeah. Just to see how well I actually bothered or managed to learn anything.
Well, let's find out.
Oh, God. I've done really well in the last couple of them that I did for this specific thing. And 4!
Ah.
he's just...
Yeah, Isaac, you're having a hard time with him today. It seems like in the back of the wagon, this was an easier lesson because there were less sensory things distracting him. But now in a giant city with a whole bunch of unfamiliar things and now surrounded by books that appear to be kind of putting him off his game, you don't make a lot of progress with him today.
Karash, you're usually so much more focused.
I do not like these words around me.
This is the perfect place. Are you distracted, Karash?
There are too many of them.
Are you angry with me that we
No.
didn't do detect magic in front of you know where? And my voice gets low.
No, I do not care. It would. Why would I?
You seemed pretty upset,
You
Karash.
seem a little flustered.
There are books all around me. I do not like books. I cannot read them.
Well, that's what we're working on. You're
It's
making
true.
great progress.
In time.
Soon this will turn from a nightmare to a treasure trove.
Uh,
Right now, it is uncomfortable.
Yeah, we'll get there. Nothing worthwhile is earned immediately. Karash, got to work for it. I'm proud of the progress you're making.
Thank you.
no.
I
So,
spilled more.
yeah.
Yep.
And then beyond, I mean, I think that's all I would do. I don't know about Grail and Karash.
All I wanted was food. The only other thing in town I'm kind of interested in is too far away for us to make a quick trip.
Is that the temple?
Yeah, potentially, but I'm not tweaking out about it right now.
Okay. And I don't really have any business. It's overwhelming. So whoa, Philippe, stop. I'm sorry. I am probably just more interested in whatever Isaac wants to do.
And I am a little preoccupied with this upcoming meeting. I'm probably going to get there a little early, unless we're going to cut before that. But if that's the next thing, I'm going to go to the bar that we agreed on, which was where? I don't remember.
It's the place you're staying.
Oh, okay. Oh, yeah, like
The
the
Ritz
lobby.
Carlton.
Yep.
Yeah.
The
And I'm
Regency
gonna-
Suites.
So about 8:30, I'm gonna sidle up to the bar, take a seat. Actually, really quick before that, we should talk about what do you guys want to do? Do you all want to be at the bar with me? Do we want somebody keeping guard while we're talking? Keeping an eye out, I should say.
It's probably a good idea to have somebody keeping watch.
You mean outside of the room or at our hotel?
Well,
what do you mean?
We're
keeping
literally
watch?
meeting at the bar. So
Yeah.
just someone probably on the other side, just keeping an eye out, making sure we're not being eavesdropped or
Or that she was followed and
tailed. Yep.
I mean, I want to hear everything that she has to say, but I don't really think all of us need to be there for that. So, you can tell me, you can paraphrase what she says, and I think it's going to draw less attention if only one person or maybe two tops is there, and we've scattered. Like, I think that's a lot better.
Well, I would very much like to talk to her some more. Karash, would you like to join me, or do you want to keep watch? Bash some heads in if necessary.
So we're just meeting in the bar itself, right?
Yeah.
Okay. I will find a seat and drink.
Should we sit next to each other, Karash, or are you going to be on the other side of the bar?
I will be nearby.
Okay, that works for me.
And
You're
as
so
far
mysterious, Karash.
as far as I'm concerned, I can be outside of the bar, keep an eye elsewhere.
I tell you that you should do your mind thing occasionally.
Oh, yeah,
during
send
the
a message.
conversation. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. It's such a good cantrip. Holy shit.
Yeah. So I'm going to order a beer.
Well, we'll get to you in a second. If you're going
Okay.
back to the bar now.
Well, so I'm at the bar. It's 8:30.
Sure, but Tessie and Lena, you guys make it back to Publica at around 6:30 or 6:45. Not too long after the other group would have, but they've already now left to go elsewhere. You don't know that, but they're still out doing their thing at the library and a couple other stops they made. So what do you guys want to do? You don't know of a meeting. You do know you were supposed to meet up with the other group sometime in the evening, but
I'd probably suggest going up to the room since we have to unlock it anyways, so that if they come back up, we'll be there.
Sure, yeah.
okay. You guys just gonna chill there.
Yeah. Do I have any books to read? I don't know if I have any books.
Do
Does
you?
Tessian have any books? Does anyone have any
Yes.
He has
books?
a sketchbook.
I have my sketchbook, and that's about it
Ah.
on my person.
Darn.
Yeah, sorry.
Well.
You missed out on the book reader of the group. He's not there right now. You know he would want you to read those books too.
I mean, maybe they've got
So
like
good.
some smut laying around this place. You know, I don't know.
Every
Like
room
dirty,
comes
like
with-
a dirty magazine rack someplace. I don't know. I don't know what they have.
and each of the rooms has a King James Bible in the drawer.
And Book of Mormon.
Yes. You guys just gonna chill and wait for the other group to come back?
I feel like Tessian would want to go down to the bar. I mean, we got to have dinner at some point. He'd offer to get Lena some food, and he could bring it up to the room.
I tell him that would be very nice. And thank you.
So this is interesting with the timing because I'm realizing so we're gonna go do our errands. We would, I think, stop by the room one more time to check since we're at the bar anyway.
Yeah.
But if that's around 8:20, are we going to be crossing paths? Are they going to be in the room when we check, or are we just going to keep missing each other?
I think for expediency that when you guys come back from your trip, you can find Tessian down in the common area.